Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are looking at a transformation story that, honestly, it feels a bit like watching a massive container ship try to do a U-turn in a narrow canal.
And somehow not hitting the sides.
And not hitting the sides, exactly.
That is a vivid image to start with. And frankly, given the years we're looking at, 2020 and 2021, most companies were just trying to stay afloat, let alone change direction.
That's it. We're looking at a company with a 38-year history, a heavy industrial player. We're talking manufacturing, logistics, all the quiet background stuff.
The things that make your things work.
Yes. But the documents we have today, their annual and ESG reports for that 2020-2021 period, they show something completely different.
They're pivoting. And it's not a subtle pivot. I mean, they're moving from a pure B2B factory model to retail, innovation, even agribusiness.
Right in the middle of a global pandemic.
Which is a bold move.
Bold or maybe reckless. So just to set the stage, this is a diversified industrial group. It has something like 12 different business units.
Right, everything from auto parts to consumer electronics, phones and TVs, and even agricultural exports.
And our mission today is to really unpack how they manage this stress test. Because 2020 and 2021 were anything but normal.
For this company, it really marked their transition to becoming a B2C powerhouse. They went from making the phone in your pocket to being the ones selling it to you.
That's a huge shift from maker to seller. But before the strategy, we have to look at the numbers. Because when I first opened this report, the volatility it jumps off the page.
Right, you see it so clearly. 2020, they had total operational halts, factories closed, lights out.
But then you get to 2021.
And calling that recovery V-shaped feels like an understatement.
It's more like a rocket launch.
Yeah.
So let's look at revenue. In 2021, their net sales hit $158.4 million.
Up from $109.1 million the year before. That is a massive jump.
You just don't see that kind of growth, not nearly 50% in an established industrial giant.
Not unless they bought something huge, which, spoiler alert, they did.
We'll get to the shopping spree, yeah. But the bottom line, the net result, went from $5.5 million in 2020 up to $8.1 million in 2021.
So they didn't just survive the shutdown, they came out of it significantly more profitable.
What really stands out to me here, though, isn't just the money. It's the sheer scale, the volume.
The production volume. If you look at the mobile phone data, that tells the entire story of the pandemic economy.
Oh, I saw that. They produced 5.5 million mobile units in 2021.
Which is up from 2.9 million the year before. They nearly doubled their output in a single year.
That's just staggering. It really highlights that disconnect we all felt where the goods economy was just overheating.
Exactly. Everyone was at home buying phones, upgrading their TVs.
All right, TVs were up too, right?
Yeah, by nearly 30%, hitting over 329,000 units. They were just perfectly positioned to catch that wave.
So this all creates a very solid balance sheet. You've got total assets at $83.6 million against liabilities of $57.8 million.
Which gives them a very healthy equity position of around $25.8 million. But what this really tells me, beyond the numbers, is that they have incredible elasticity.
Elasticity is the right word. Think about the logistics of that. You shut down, send everyone home, and then months later, you have to run at double speed.
That breaks supply chains. It breaks people.
It does.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about those growing pains. You don't just double production without breaking a few things internally.
No, you don't. And the report is surprisingly honest about that. The biggest challenge they point to is cultural.
Which makes sense. They aren't just one thing anymore.
Precisely. I mean, imagine trying to create one culture when you have people on an assembly line, people in corporate finance, some in agricultural exports, and now a whole new workforce in retail stores.
That's a clash of worlds. You have the hard hat culture of safety and efficiency meeting the customer service culture of empathy and sales.
It's a recipe for silos. They grew to nearly 3,000 employees. So the challenge was creating a unifying model to align everyone.
It's one thing to put a slogan on a poster. It's another to make a factory foreman and a retail clerk feel like they're on the same team.
And they had to do all of that while navigating the second big challenge, which was, of course, COVID.
Right. You can't assemble a circuit board on Zoom.
For a manufacturer, work from home is an existential crisis. The report talks about the collective effort to recondition the plants, rewrite the protocols of how people move.
It's a logistical puzzle. How do you double production while keeping workers 6 feet apart? You have to re-engineer the whole workspace.
Now, there's a third challenge in here that I found really interesting. It's the kind of thing companies usually try to bury.
You're talking about the fraud cases.
I am. The report explicitly states there were 24 reports of corruption or fraud in that period.
Which sounds bad at first glance, doesn't it? 24 fraud cases.
It does. But the context is everything. 100% of those cases involved fraud by employees regarding assets in their new retail stores.
So internal theft.
Essentially, yes. Stock going missing. It's the dark side of that pivot to retail. When you move stock from a locked warehouse to a shelf, your risk profile just completely changes.
But the key part for me wasn't that it happened. The takeaway was their response.
Zero tolerance.
Everyone involved was dismissed. It's bold to publish that number.
It's strategic transparency. It signals to investors, we have a compliance system, it works, and we don't hide the results.
Right. It turns a negative into a proof point for their governance.
It's better to say we caught 24 people than to pretend you have no problems while stuff walks out the back door.
Okay, so let's unpack the how.
Mhm.
How did they double that phone production? Because this wasn't just them running the conveyor belts faster.
No, this wasn't organic growth. This was a strategic acquisition. In October 2020, the company took control of a major competitor's local operations.
Ah, okay. So they bought the capacity.
They bought the capacity and the market share. That acquisition is the primary driver behind that 87% jump in mobile production. It really consolidated them as the leader.
That's classic consolidation. In the crisis, the strong buy the ones looking for an exit. But that comes with strings attached, doesn't it?
It does. The Competition Commission approved it, but with conditions. They have strict regulatory requirements for 5 years to make sure they don't abuse that dominant position.
And while they were buying phone factories for the now, they are also planning something new for the future. This OnTech project.
This is fascinating. It shows they aren't just satisfied with assembling things. OnTech is a new industrial plant project in Baradero.
And this is a big investment.
It's a $16 million investment, but it's for the automotive sector.
And what are they making exactly?
High-complexity plastic parts. We're talking about the parts that look like plastic but have sensors and electronic modules embedded in them.
So smart parts, like dashboards and consoles.
Exactly. Historically, these are really hard to produce locally. The tech integration has to be perfect, so they're usually imported.
This is an import substitution play then. It moves them up the value chain.
From assembler to high-tech manufacturer.
That sounds like a long-term bet.
Right.
You don't spend $16 million if you're not planning to stick around.
And that leads to the third key event, which might be the most boring on paper, but is probably most important, the regulatory extension.
The industrial promotion regime.
Yes. It gives them tax benefits. It was extended for 15 years with a possibility of another 15.
Wow. 30 years is an eternity in the corporate world.
It is, and that's why they can justify the OnTech project. The report says this extension allows for a medium and long-term vision. Without that certainty, you don't sink that kind of capital into a new plant.
Okay, let's shift to ESG. Because usually when I read industrial manufacturer and ESG, I expect a lot of vague promises.
Right, the classic "we love the planet" page with a stock photo of Leaf.
Exactly. But this report had one detail that I absolutely loved. It's my favorite part of the whole document.
I think I know which one you mean, the automotive plant.
Yes, the automotive plant achieved an 81.2% reduction in its carbon footprint per unit. 81%.
It is a massive number. You usually fight for 3 or 5% a year.
And the best part is how they did it. It wasn't some futuristic carbon capture machine. They installed automatic temperature controls set to 24 degrees for the heating system.
It's so simple.
It's brilliantly simple. They just stopped overheating the building.
Well, it's a masterclass in efficiency. In huge industrial spaces, heating is a massive energy sink. By automating it, they slash their emissions.
I feel like there's a lesson there for every business.
It proves that environmental responsibility often aligns perfectly with operational efficiency. You save money, and you save the planet.
I am absolutely checking the thermostat in this studio after we're done. It's just such a tangible example.
It is. And they're doing other things, too. Recovering 55% of their manufacturing waste in the southern sites.
Okay, what about the social side?
Well, with nearly 3,000 employees, the focus is on team identity. But what stood out was their community investment. It's very targeted. Education and environment.
So they're not trying to fix everything.
No, it's strategic. They're focusing on skills training, which they need for these new plants, and the local environment.
And on governance, we touched on the fraud, but there's an interesting ownership structure here, too.
Yes. They're a publicly traded entity. About 48% is held by a holding group, but over 51% is floating on the stock exchange.
And pension funds own a big chunk of that.
About 21%. And that is crucial. When pension funds are your shareholders, the demand for transparency just skyrockets. You have to be clean.
So looking forward, the report outlines their objectives. It really feels like they are doubling down on this whole retail identity.
They absolutely are. Priority number one is omnichannel expansion. They're aggressively opening more physical stores.
Under the Samsung brand and also their own brand, Dig It.
Yes, Dig It is their own retail brand. They want to own that relationship with the final consumer.
That is a risky game.
Yeah.
Retail is expensive.
It's high risk, high reward. You capture more margin, but it exposes you to consumer sentiment in a way a factory just doesn't.
And priority two is getting ON Tech built.
Moving from announcement to construction, yeah. And that includes training centers. You can't just build the walls. You have to train the workforce.
And the third priority loops back to ESG.
The sustainable supply chain. They've committed to begin the social and environmental evaluation of their suppliers.
What does that mean in practice?
It means the pressure flows downhill. If you want to sell them cardboard boxes, you need to meet their standards. It's how large companies can force systemic change.
Right. It's not legislation, it's the purchase order.
Money talks.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. If we have to boil this all down, what are the key takeaways?
I think there are three main lessons. First is resilience through diversification.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Pretty much. If they'd just been an auto parts factory, 2020 would have been brutal. But consumer electronics exploded. It turns volatility into opportunity.
And the second?
Efficiency is ecology. I'm going back to the thermostat.
I love the thermostat. It's the hero of this story.
It really is. You don't need a massive PR campaign to be green. You need rigorous operational efficiency. It's a win-win.
And the third?
Transparency pays off.
Even when it's bad news.
Especially when it's bad news. Being public and handling those fraud cases openly positions them as a safe, mature partner for the international giants.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, as we wrap this up, I keep thinking about this big shift they've made. From B2B to B2C.
It's their biggest gamble.
It really is. And here's my question for you and for everyone listening. As this company evolves from a factory behind the scenes, disciplined, efficient, industrial, to a retailer with its name on the door, can it maintain that strict industrial discipline while trying to win the hearts of everyday consumers?
That is the million-dollar question. Operating a factory is logic. Operating a retail store is emotion. Can they do both?
We'll have to watch the next report to find out.
Indeed.
Well, I'm going to go check our thermostat. Set it to 24.
Get it to 24.
Got it. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We hope this gave you a peek under the hood of how a major industrial player pivots in a crisis.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Join us next time. We'll have another stack of reports and another fascinating story. See you then.